I was just nuts about boats, nuts about the water. Bought a 30-foot keel boat with the money that my mother left me when she died. I was starting to be less interested in racing and more interested in comfort and boat camping, which was a heck of a lot of fun, to go and take your boat and anchor out somewhere and stay over and cook food on the barbecue and, you know, hang with friends and sleep overnight in the boat. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. The first time I took that keel boat out of the gate, I sailed with a couple of buddies and I took it up to Tamales Bay. Just in the middle of the winter. It was, I believe, February. It was the end of a long high pressure period. So the weather had been really nice, and I was waiting for my crew to be available to come for this trip. We didn't know if it was going to take 1 or 2 days to get up there. Typically the wind blows from the northwest, and we would be heading up north, so it would be a tough crawl up there. But in the wintertime, the storms come in and they blow in from the southwest. So we were at the end of a high pressure period and there was a storm coming in. So it was like our last window to leave the bay and head up the coast. And so we left at before dawn, so we were getting under the bridge, leaving with the freighters. It was just amazing, these huge boats going out, and this bloody red sun, there was clouds out. The storm was coming in, and luckily it was, because once we got out the gate and through the potato patch, which is, the potato patch is where what they call the area outside the gate, where there's some there's like the deep channel in the center, and then on either side there's shoals. And when the boats used to come down from Spud Point in Bolinas Bay, where they would load up the potatoes, they would come down and they would hit those shoals and it would rock the boat so much they would lose potatoes. That's why it's called the potato shoals. Once you get past that, we went in the inside course of that, so we were close to Point Bonita. And we had a GPS. We had plotted the points from the charts before we left, but we were also getting the real data as we were going along, so we could, eventually head back down. I didn't know at that point that I was going to be up there for 2 years. I had 2 people on board. Both of them were Hobiecat sailors. Both of them were from that up in Santa Rosa and had sailed their Hobiecat, at the very least, out of the mouth of Tamales Bay, and it is a particularly tricky entrance, and people die up there. It's really sickening. But at least I had the local knowledge. We were heading up, the storm was coming in, it was blowing us up the coast at a rollicking pace. The waves, we were surfing down the swells. We got the boat, the Hobiecats go like 35 and more miles an hour, and the keel boat, the top speed in any keel boat is like 7.5 knots. So we were sailing and motoring at the same time because we really wanted to beat this storm. And surfing the swells, we got the boat up to like 10 knots, and it was a big thrill. About the time we saw the storm really kicking in down below us, and it was getting dark and gloomy back there, my crew was looking a little nervous, and I went down below and figured we'd better eat now because we may not have another chance until we turned the corner to get into Tamales, and who knows what it was going to be like there. So I made sandwiches, and everybody ate, and later on one of the guys said that I pretty much saved his life at that point. He was about to lose it. But nobody got sick, luckily. We got up to Tamales Point earlier than we had imagined because the storm blew us that fast. We had to wait for the tide to come up because it just wasn't high enough to go in safely. And luckily, once we had turned that point, the waves, the weather was coming in from the south, so we were in a relatively calm area. We waited for an hour or so, the tide came up, and then we headed towards the opening. And when you go into Tamales, you have to get really close to the point side. It looks like there's a lot of space, and the other side is really shallow. And that's where you get a lot of breaking waves, and that's where the people go and kill themselves. And typically they're like people who are fishing, they come down from other parts, and they climb into a boat. They don't put on their life jackets. They go out there, they get tumbled in the waves. It is part of the Red Triangle. The sharks do live up there. They actually go into Tamales Bay to have their babies. Not a place where you want to be in the water. So we crawled into Tomales Bay. It was getting dark. We were really close to the one side, which was good, but it was still a bit low, and we touched ground. Amazingly enough, there was a Coast Guard boat there. They didn't need to help us or anything, but that was why we were shoved over so far. Had he not been there, we would have swung out a bit. This is the first of the times that I was stuck on that particular point. Not very long, but long enough to go, oh God, what are we going to do? Luckily, we were able to kick the sail out, and it pulled us off, and we continued on down, and we actually got down to White Gulch, dropped the anchor, and got the barbecue out, got our hamburgers cooked before it started to pour and rain on us, and we were down below and laughing it up that we had made it